Greetings everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be talking about spiritual awakening and the ascension journey. You're going to hear me talk a lot about spiritual awakening and ascension on this channel, so I wanted to take some time to help you become familiarized with these terms. Spiritual awakening marks the gateway to the soul's ascension, which is a natural process of transformation. It is when one becomes aware of their true spiritual nature. Ascension is a continuous progressive journey. It is a process of a lifetime, evolving our consciousness and helping us to access higher states of awareness. So in today's video, I'm going to go over these 7 major phases of ascension. Now in some practices and teachings, there are 12 phases to the awakening journey, but for today, we're going to go over these 7. If you would like to dive deeper into all 12 stages, I help guide my clients through each phase in my self-mastery coaching program. To learn more about this program, please click that link I've left for you in the description of this video. The initial stage is the awakening. This is where one becomes aware that there's more to life than what meets the eye. It is when we begin to question everything and start to seek deeper meaning, such as one's purpose in life and having the desire for personal growth. This phase is often triggered by personal life events such as an illness, loss, or trauma. For some, the awakening journey is triggered by the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is such a profound and intense experience. It's often described as a period of deep spiritual or emotional crisis. One where you feel disconnected from your sense of self or purpose. But in reality, it's a transformative process that strips away illusions and false identities. During this time, one may feel alone or isolated, maybe feel a lack of purpose or meaning in the world. This process involves dismantling of old beliefs, behaviors and habits, and relationships that no longer serve you for your highest good. This is when we begin to work on the shadow side of our psyche, confronting painful aspects of ourselves and of our lives. Spirituality can be found in a time of crisis or desperation. When you're in the darkness, you naturally search for the light. This phase provokes a drastic change in your life. The next phase in this journey is one of questioning, seeking, and learning. This is when we question lifelong held beliefs, societal structures, and even reality itself. In this phase, we have deep curiosity. It is when an individual seeks knowledge, wisdom, and guidance, exploring various spiritual practices and multiple philosophies. Spiritual teachings, books, or mentors that will help you make sense of all of the truths you begin to uncover. It is here that you start to put the pieces of a much larger puzzle known as your spiritual evolution together. It is important that you take breaks from learning, as all of this new information can be a bit overwhelming. So be sure to implement what you have learned to expand your mind and experiences. The third phase of the ascension process is purification. In this step, the ego begins to dissolve, old wounds, patterns, and limiting beliefs rise to the surface, and we let go of negative patterns and attachments. You begin to notice what's blocking your growth, letting go of addictions, relationships, outdated beliefs, unlearning conditioned behaviors, and embracing a healthier mindset. You become conscious of the triggers behind your impulses and explore where they stem from, meeting your shadows with clarity and bravery, and learning the lessons that they carry. This is when you're able to discern between soul guidance and old programming, choosing alignment over reaction. As we transition into the healing level of ascension, individuals address past traumas, unresolved emotions, and inner wounds. After your initial awakening, you're no longer asleep to who you are. Now it's time to clear the path, and that begins with healing. As you purge old emotions, you begin to meet parts of yourself that you've hidden in the shadow. the parts you were trying to avoid, deny, or shame. But the truth is, you can't rise into your light without embracing the darkness. Shadow work is how you become whole again. You'll notice that things start to fall away, like relationships, habits, and beliefs. It might feel like you're losing everything, but really, you're shedding. And what's falling away is not meant to walk with you into your next chapter. Now, physically and energetically, you might feel tired, sensitive, ungrounded, and sometimes even physically unwell. These are Ascension symptoms. Your body and energy are recalibrating. You're holding more light now, and that takes adjustment. Childhood memories may rise. You may feel emotionally vulnerable or sensitive. But these are signs from your inner child asking for safety, care, and acknowledgement. You begin releasing guilt, shame, and self-blame. Forgiveness is an essential part of healing, forgiving others, yourself, and your past. Overall, this phase is about purification, integration, recalibration, and empowerment. The fifth phase is all about the expansion of consciousness. So, what actually happens when your consciousness begins to expand? First, your awareness starts to increase a lot. You become more aware of your thoughts, your emotional patterns, the energy in a room, and even subtle shifts in people's moods. It's like waking up from a fog. Then suddenly, you're more present and more tuned in to yourself and to the world around you. Your perception of reality starts to change as you begin to see the bigger picture and that everything is connected. This phase often triggers emotional clearing. So old wounds, buried emotions, and trauma can come up again. It can feel overwhelming, but remember, it's all a part of the healing. As the ego begins to dissolve, you may feel lost or disconnected from who you used to be. You may even feel like everything is falling apart. But what's really happening is you're shedding what no longer serves you so that your true self can emerge. At the same time, your heart begins to open. Compassion, empathy, and love become more natural. You might start to feel more connected to something greater. Call it Source, God, the universe, or your higher self. Meditation becomes more meaningful for you, and your intuition sharpens. You might even notice spiritual gifts starting to activate within you. In time, you begin to feel a sense of oneness with people, with nature, and with life itself. There is a deep sense of peace and sometimes even bliss within you. As you expand, your desire to live with purpose grows. You feel called to help and create something meaningful, and the things that aren't aligned with your soul, well, they start to fade away naturally. So the expansion of consciousness is where we begin to see, feel, and understand beyond the surface. Once we've expanded our awareness, we're invited into something even deeper, self-realization, which is next on the ascension path. Self-realization is when you begin to experience yourself not as a mind, not as your past, not even as your personality, but as pure awareness. You realize you are that which observes, and that you are consciousness itself. This knowing does not come from the mind. It is a deep inner recognition, beyond thought and beyond belief. You're not driven by the ego in the same way anymore. You can see your patterns and are no longer trapped in them. There is a stillness that begins to rise within you. Not because life is always peaceful, but because you're no longer resisting it. You meet each moment as it comes, with presence and with oneness. You begin to trust life as it is. You're no longer dwelling in the past, nor chasing the future. You are simply here, breathing, in this moment, and that is enough. The mind quiets and the awareness takes the lead. The illusion of separation begins to fade, and you feel a deep connection with all of life, nature, and others, and with the entire universe. This phase isn't just about spiritual insight. It's about how you live. Your choices, your words, your energy will all start aligning with your inner truth. You walk in faith, not fear, in clarity, not control, and releasing, no longer resisting. The self-realization phase isn't loud. It isn't about having visions or altered states. It's subtle, and it just happens. But the journey doesn't end there, because once you've awakened to your true nature, something beautiful and inevitable begins to happen. You embody this realization into your body, into your relationships, into your work, and into this world. This is a phase of service and integration. This is where your inner work becomes your outer expression. You begin to integrate your spiritual learnings into daily life, giving you the ability to have more empathy, compassion, and love. You begin to embody your truth with ease. You act, speak, and serve from a place of deep alignment. In this phase, service isn't always loud or visible. It's in your energy. It's in the way you show up for the world. You become the bridge, where heaven meets earth, where the spiritual touches the physical, where the divine flows through your human form, and you realize this is not the end. Integration is ongoing. One more point I'd like to mention is that as we progress through the spiritual ascension process, it's quite common to encounter various ascension symptoms along the way. These are physical, emotional, and energetic changes that reflect the deep inner transformation happening on a soul level. So as your body recalibrates to hold more light, you might feel fatigued, experience buzzing in the ears, or even have headaches and flu-like sensations without any actual illness. Sleep patterns may shift. Some nights you might be wired with energy, while others you're exhausted. You might feel anxious, overwhelmed, or like you're grieving something that you can't quite put your finger on. This is our energetic system purging what no longer serves us. And then there are the peaks, the moments of peace, unity, and pure awe, when you feel fully connected to nature, to spirit, and to everything. These are glimpses of higher frequencies that you're stepping into. So here we are. We've walked through the 7 major phases of the spiritual awakening and ascension journey and covered the associated symptoms. But the truth is, the cycle doesn't end here. Just like the cycles of the moon and the changing of the seasons, we move through these phases again and again. Each time a little deeper, each time a little clearer, each time a little more whole. So if you're cycling back to the beginning, that's okay. You're not going backwards. You're just spiraling upward into more of who you truly are. Thank you for being on this journey with me and for supporting this channel by liking this video. If your heart feels called to join the Angelic Alignment community, I invite you to subscribe and continue this journey together. Until we meet again, stay aligned, stay blessed, and may the light always guide your way.